Welcome back, everybody. My name is Saleemah McNeil. This is my co-host, Jabina Coleman, and we are here with the Big Girl Panties podcast, where you're going to pick your prettiest pair. So welcome back, Bean. What kind of panties you got on?
Let's see. Today, I was feeling pretty in pink. So, a pair of pink thongs.
Oh, yes, because I can't get you in pink on almost any other day. So thank you. Thank you.
Just for you, girlfriend.
Yes, today I decided to just be fucking free and do what I needed to do in this nice, cute white dress that hold everything where it needs to go, because today just felt like a day to do whatever I wanted to do. And that was something I didn't want to do. So as we enter into doing hard shit, because being big girls, you got to put your big girl panties on, do the hard things, and you often get to pick your prettiest pair. So thanks for picking pink today and being here with me. This episode, we talking about collaboration over competition, one of my favorite things. So I cannot wait to get into this conversation. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
So, I'm Jabina Coleman, reproductive psychotherapist, board certified lactation consultant, co-founder of Breastfeeding Awareness and Empowerment, as well as the Perinatal Mental Health Alliance for People of Color. And I cannot forget one of the founding members of the Maternal Wellness Village.
Yes, which is the reason why we're here today, because we were funded by International Independence Media Foundation. Let me say that again. We are funded by Independence Media Foundation, and for Black Breastfeeding Week, we had another dope sponsor, which was Medela, who supported us with Barbecue for Bay. So thank you so much for being here. We wrapped up Black Breastfeeding Week, and now we get to talk a little bit more about the theme and why it was chosen to be collaboration over competition. So tell me about the inception of that.
So collaboration over competition, one, is important because, like I mentioned on our last episode, is that there's a lot of people on the ground in Philly doing the work, and we're not siloed. We cannot do this work by ourselves. We're not an island. And so it's so important that we collaborate, that we join forces, because we can't do it by ourselves.
No.
It's a lot of work out there, and to just get this work done. And it's easier when it's done with people that you like and when you enjoy the work.
Listen, sometimes you don't even have to like them.
That part.
If the quality of the product is good, I don't have to like you. If you are great for the clients, then do that. Because I think people get caught up in that. Like, oh, you got to like and love and do all these things. No, we can be professional and respect each other's fields. And if there's not an affinity personally, but professionally, then do that.
Absolutely.
I think I've predicated a lot of my career and the success of the organization on the fact that I'm very collaborative and I want to pull everybody in. I want to pull everybody up. And that is really genuinely like who I am. But it's so hard sometimes in the Black community to get the buy-in because of that crab in the barrel ass mentality that really does hold a lot of us back. Many people don't even know the story of the Maternal Wellness Village and how it came together. And that came about because I realized being in this field that I knew a handful of doulas, I knew some lactation consultants, and then I also felt like I needed to be everything that my client needed,
Right.
In terms of service, so they didn't have to search far and wide, because I only knew a handful of people. And so I figured, let me be a lactation consultant, let me be a doula, let me be a therapist. And wrap all of that into one. Sound like a really great idea. It was a really terrible fucking idea.
Absolutely. Because as much as I say, I wear many hats. Like, literally, I had on every one of those hats. I had on a hat for everything that I do because I wanted to make sure that my clients had everything.
Right.
And as much as I would believe to say that my superpower is connecting and collaborating, because that is what I do just naturally, like, that just made more sense. Like,
Right.
we can't do all the things because we know that as therapists, you'll be burnt out very quickly. And so we need to, again, just reach out, reach forward, and reach back to the folks that we're doing the work with.
100%. So I tell people sometimes when talking about the Maternal Wellness Village that I spent about 18 months stalking these beautiful Black women in the birth community, like sliding in your DMs, setting up lunches, showing up to events that I knew y'all were hosting and or doing training and facilitation, to really start to curate that relationship and see, like, all right, what are the fields that we need to intersect with the work? Because if we have a village of birth workers and they're all therapists, then what do we do when someone needs a doula or
Absolutely.
lactation consultant or a childbirth educator. So it got my wheels turning, and I did all of that. And y'all came out. We met at, what is it? The Elephant Cafe, Elephant and the Monkey.
Yeah,
On Girard Avenue
Girard
at Brewery
Avenue.
Town. Shout out to y'all. Our first meeting in a little loft upstairs, and just talking about exactly what we get to do today. Like the research that we have going on with Temple is a manifestation of that. Our us embarking on this future capital fundraising campaign to get a brick and mortar location as a manifestation of that. So tell me, from your experience with being a part of the Maternal Wellness Village, what have you benefited from in terms of that collaboration?
So there's so many things that I can say I've benefited from. One would be a trusted community of sister girlfriends, of birth workers, and just professionals and colleagues, right? So that have the same passion that I do around Black maternal health, that I can trust to call if there is an issue with a client, with a family, if there are resources that are needed, but also to learn from and to lean on when I don't have the capacity, or there's something more that I want to learn more about, whether it's, I'm hitting Portia up because I'm like, Portia, you out here with the
Reclaim Black
doulas.
motherhood.
Yes, reclaim Black motherhood. And so, just that camaraderie around this work, because we're dealing with a lot of traumatizing work.
A lot.
This work is heavy. And so as those on the front line doing the work, we definitely need our community, fellow birth workers to lean on when we can't do it. And so I think, and then it's just like sparking ideas, just the, generation of ideas, and just being able to, just Black women out here doing it, killing the game, but also in this way where we're respected, our work is respected, the community trusts us to do this work and to do it together in a really holistic type of way.
We have the trust of the community. Sometimes we really have to get the trust of other birth workers. And that is where sometimes we find to be very challenging, or other people who are trying to collaborate with different birth workers or collaborate with us. I think the one thing, or amongst many other things that people fail to realize, and I hate for it to be an excuse, we are busy. So even when we had the event a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, yes, let's collaborate, but don't actually call me. Because all the things that we got going on, I can't stop and answer every text message or every email, but we have systems in place and infrastructures in place that if you get to one of us, you'll get to all of us. So still send the email, still slide in that DM. We have an assistant with the organization that also helps to support with that. So what I'm saying is, don't call me directly. Don't think you're emailing me directly, but email the organization, because we love new partners. We have very big projects like our birth worker meetups that happen quarterly, and Black Breastfeeding Week and Black Maternal Health Week. We know for a fact that we can't do it all. So when you had Barbecue for Bay, who did you collaborate with to get that off the ground?
So we collaborated with Oshun Family Center. We collaborated with one of our funders, the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. And we just had a lot of sponsors. Dr. Meg Kwan from Chop Carabots is one of our, sponsors, and someone who really has worked with us on the ground doing the work in the community as a pediatrician. And so we have a lot of support from Medela, was one of our sponsors. And it's just been really great to just really connect with different organizations that also really want to just make sure to get their information out there. You have some new entrepreneurs. We have folks that are working in just their expertise. And so it's been really a really good experience.
Putting the Maternal Wellness Village together and all of us co-founding it for what it is today and what it will be in the future was such a heavy burden lift off my shoulders, because I no longer felt like I needed to do everything. Because we have a nurse, we have holistic healers, we got infertility warriors, student midwife, doulas, lactation consultants, and therapists, and none of us have to do everything. It's been such a great benefit. We've had some growing pains and some glowing throughout the years, but ultimately, when I think about the Maternal Wellness Village and us sitting down in 2019 to come up with this plan, it has stayed in the forefront of my mind and everything that we've done moving forward. And I can't speak any more about how beneficial that collaboration is. Because for me, And as cocky as this may sound, I don't have no competition.
Absolutely.
If you compete with me, you in the league all by
Right,
yourself.
right,
Because my
absolutely.
trajectory is forward, and it's within the movement to make sure that the people who are coming along are getting the services that they need. And that don't require me to bicker or tear down another business or another Black woman in order to service those folks. So when we talk about that collaboration, it is a reciprocal relationship that comes to the table with a mutual benefit for all parties involved. Not me just sewing in or you just sewing in. It's like, hey, how can we utilize this together to make sure that ultimately the goal and the movement is what is in the forefront, is what is moving forward.
Right. I think to speak to that, there's also strength in numbers, and also recognizing that everyone has their own niche.
Right.
And so when you do you, like I think that was some of that felt like if I join this, I can't do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Still do you. Like the
Yes.
lactation therapist is the lactation therapist. Jabina Coleman is Jabina Coleman. And I am going to still have my niche. But that doesn't mean that I can't partner with Maternal Wellness Village. I can't partner with Becky to, have our vision and our dream for Bay to come to life.
Right.
And so, but still be you in your work, because that's what makes it unique. That's what also, as we talked about, just bringing in different strengths that we all have. And so it's really important that, everyone brings their own strengths, their own, just unique abilities, to the work, to the forefront, so we could join forces and do what we do for Black birthing
Absolutely.
people.
And it's happening, and it's really going well, especially in this juncture. To think about where we were in 2019 as the Maternal Wellness Village, being able to secure a grant with Patient-Centered Outcomes Research Institute in collaboration with one of the city's largest hospitals that services Black and brown folks has been, for me, one of the most monumental things that we could accomplish, because that also rendered a $5.9 or $5.6 million grant for us as Black women. Our vision from then to move into what we are doing now has been the epitome of like success. So when people are like, well, when do you feel successful, or how do you measure success? And I do it by project, by phase, by, where I am in life. It's not this overall picture that when I get there, I'm successful, but here are the successes that I've had along the way.
Right.
And being able to have that collaboration with Temple, as tough as it is on some days, has been amazing for us as Black women to be researchers, for me to be a dual PI, for you to be a co-investigator, and for our name to be published.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Talk about them publications
Yes.
that come from two Black women who decided to meet up at a cafe, who don't have PhDs, but are absolutely in the trenches of doing this research. How's it been for you?
So we talk about, warm handoffs all the time in the field, right? We want to do warm handoffs. We want to make sure that we're connecting patients in the community to different organizations. And so Becky was in nursing school at the time when I first met her. And I was running support groups, and she had an assignment, and one of the professors told her, there's a social worker, she's into breastfeeding, I think you need to go connect with her.
Right.
She finished nursing school, graduated nursing school, started working for Nurse Family Partnership.
Nice.
And our path started to cross. I get clients and I'm like, there's a Nurse Becky over at Nurse Family Partnership. And I'm like, you need to see her. Or she'll do the same. There's a lactation consultant.
That trust.
Right. There's that trust. And so we connected. Because we recognized that we were sharing the same clients and the same patients. And from there, that's where the passion around Black maternal health, recognizing that there were barriers. A lot of the conversations that we had were about the barriers in the city,
Right,
and the gaps. And so we knew that there wasn't anything happening for Black Breastfeeding Week, and we saw the gap and we filled the gap. We recognized that breastfeeding was also looked at, and when you're talking about breastfeeding, you're really just focusing on a diet. You're not really looking at the holistic person.
Yeah.
And so we filled that gap, focusing on perinatal mental health, reproductive justice, and trauma-informed care. And so it was really important for us that we also created space. When in 2018, when we started our first Bay Cafe, we partnered with the Free Library of Philadelphia, and we were in 3 of their branches. And so we were in the community. And so that partnership just grew, and we just came together with all of the ideas and all of the dreams. We're like, dream big. And we have a little note going. She'll drop something in there. I'll drop something in there. Baby Beginnings just was like, we had a logo before we even had a program. And so it was like Baby Beginnings, Bay Cafe. We do Tools for Bay, which is professional development for institutions and organization around breastfeeding and perinatal mental health. And so a lot of our work and consultation have just come out of that true collaboration and continuing to push forward when we see that there's a gap. And whenever there's a gap, we know who we need to call in the community to fill the gap.
100%. The success of the organization, of the village, is not on my shoulders solely at all. Like, when I say it takes a village, 100%.
Absolutely.
Like, our graphics have been done by the same company since the beginning of our logo being created, which is Diona Nicole Designs, who is a part of the Maternal Wellness Village, the founder of Bearing Fruit, and somebody that I've connected with since 2017, just on the mission to get a logo done for the organization. So from 2017, she is currently redoing the website right now and has done every single thing in between. So when we're able to collaborate on projects and resource share, it really is of the advancement of everybody else. I could also talk about our digital media team that been rocking with us, thank you, since 2019. Yes. Like, we came together as a Maternal Wellness Village. Everybody put up $100.
We sure did.
Yes, to get this photo shoot done, to get the video done. And shout out to Creative Mind Productions and Vernon Ray for being there from the beginning. And to say, like, you know what? I believe in your mission. And because I believe in your mission, I'm going to make sure that y'all have great content moving forward. We had a conversation around what is it that you want this photo shoot to embody for the people. And I was like, money. We need to look like money so people can want to give us money.
Absolutely.
And to see that come to fruition with everybody coming together, scrapping up what we could, it came out amazing. And still to this day, our digital media team is the same. Right. So when we talk about that collaboration, there's plenty of competition out there, but what would I need to look any further for when the product and the service continues to prove itself time and time again? And so I talk about those things and be very specific about it because how we're able to leverage those relationships are in multiple ways. Right. So one of the ways that we've been able to leverage that relationship is when we did our grant in 2020, we put in there for media coverage for the next 5 years. Right? Like, unbeknownst to anyone else, we were like, this is a need that we have, so we're also going to get that filled. When we had Black Maternal Health Week, we contract with the same team. Right? So I'm saying that because when you look at these collaborations, it's also how you nurture those things over the years and how the relationship is reciprocal. So as birth workers, we've been able to do that as well. So what collaboration projects do you got coming up?
So currently,
none. Yes, you do. Y'all banning the bags and reclaiming the bags. So let's go back.
Yes.
So in the spirit of collaboration, let's change the question. Who are some people that you would like to collaborate? If not specific, thinking more of the intersections of what they do, and how we can all grow together.
I think it's important that we continue our collaborations with the Philadelphia Department of Public Health. We need to really think on a state level how we need to just get together and get funding for the work that we're doing for, just to sustain the work because it's not easy, right?
No.
And so we want to make sure that we're sustaining on a state level, hopefully on a federal level, and then locally, making sure that we're continuing the mission of the work that we do.
So help us out because that is the one thing, and I know here we go collaboration, right? But I don't want to play politics. That don't feel like a good field to be in because it's like, is what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing actually was going to happen. And so that comes up for me sometimes, but I know what it takes to get to the next level and collaborating with some of those people who are genuine, who've been on the ground with us since day one to help change policy and introduce laws and legislation that impact Black bodies. Those are the people that I think about when I'm like, okay, I gotta go play politics, but it's some good folks in there. And we've been able to have some great collaborations in terms of how we introduce legislation that impacts Black bodies. So it's my hope that once we get into that field of that advocacy and that political aspect of policy, that it will also render a similar result for Black maternal health as we're collaborating and not competing with politicians to serve our people.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned in the last segment around the turnout for Bay. So we had over 300 registrants.
Yes, you better say that.
You know, sometimes it's hard for community-based organizations to get 10 people to register for something they've poured so much money into.
Yes.
And so again, because of the barriers, because of the lack of true trust in the community. And so we got that. We got the community. We're listening to the community. We're hearing what they're saying and what they need.
We are the community.
Right, exactly. And so it's really important that, you know, we continue to do this work and collaborate with those who, you know, need our support.
I love this term that I think just came up a couple years ago, but a lived experience expert.
Yes.
Let me say that again. Lived experience expert. Somebody who has lived through a thing that can contribute to the field in a way that's meaningful, that can help make shift happen. We are now recognizing their stories and their narrative and giving them the opportunity to share in their area of expertise, which is their lives. And getting the health system to recognize that has been slower, but I feel optimistic. Given the study that we're doing and being within the health system, we're making shift happen slowly, but it is happening. What is something that you hope to see out of our partnership at Temple when all things are said and done? Research is at 5.5 years, right? We are a little bit removed. What do you hope that would have rendered for us?
I think, one, that building rapport and relationships with community-based organization, folks who have lived experiences and are doing the work, that we have a lot to contribute to the research. And you don't have to be, have a doctorate to do so.
Right.
I think it's really important that, you know, we see change in the community. We see that the patients, the family, families and communities in North Philadelphia can build a relationship of trust with Temple, and that our birthing people and parents are having great experiences with their providers. As you mentioned, the PCORI study, but the institutional level change work that we're trying to do is a heavy lift.
Yes.
And so it's really important that the providers and the staff and those behind the scenes and behind the walls of the institution recognize that there are some dope ass people and women out here on the grounds in the city of Philadelphia doing the work.
100%.
And so, you know, so my hopes is that they would trust us and that we'll build a trusting relationship, because it goes both ways. And so, you know, so that we can continue to do this work.
A shout out to our team at the Change Your Heart study over there at Temple and at Ocean Family Center, because we have like the dopest group that is working behind the scenes to make sure this is going on. I think if you have never built a program,
Yes,
or a curriculum,
or written
a protocol. If I hear something else about a protocol, like, academia functions so different from how we function as community-based organizations.
and as therapists.
Oh, and as therapists. I think that's one of the biggest challenges, because we function from this level of emotional intelligence that the layperson doesn't.
Right.
So we may be more patient, more tolerant, more understanding, or more curious as to the why this is happening. And what we've realized is those shifts in mindset or those differences in perspective really does impact the work that we do.
Absolutely.
So yes, we're saying collaborate, also not leaning into competition, but we're not saying that collaboration is not hard, because we got to get into the trenches.
Yes, and I think that might be another episode.
A whole nother episode.
Yes.
But don't get discouraged by it, right? Because you have to know, understand, and be 10 toes down in the movement. And that is what keeps me grounded every day that we wake up on a Wednesday and get on a meeting for 3 hours. Or 3, 2 hours. And then, you got the meeting before the meeting, the meeting after the meeting.
Yes.
We spend quite a bit of time not looking at anyone's legs because we are on Zoom. But at the end of it, my hope particularly is that we have been able to establish something that's replicable, that other cities, other institutions, other community-based organizations can use to help the movement in Black maternal morbidity and mortality in the masses, and Black women will not die at the same rate that they do now. I talk a little bit about in my bio that'll be released on the website that Diona's completing, that they called me a near miss. And I had no clue what that was until I got into the field and I've worked with other birth workers and we started to denounce some of those things.
Right.
Like, my name is Saleemah. Yes, I nearly missed my next day on this earth because that's literally what that means. But to minimize it to just being that didn't feel inclusive at all. And so as we journey forward and we are collaborating with other people and folks around their narrative and their lived experience, it shows up for me more and more how we are making shift happen in the culture of Black maternal health every day.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important. So you say, right, it wasn't until you got into the field that you understood or heard near miss. Myself, I was a near miss, but not well into the work that I understood what that was. And so the other thing that is important to highlight is that there is Black joy and vitality in birth.
Yes.
We are so drenched in the trauma porn around Black maternal health statistics that we have not been able to really focus on Black joy and Black vitality. And that is something that for me is really important. You touched on something a little bit earlier around telling your story. And so one project that I do have coming up with playwright Nikki Brexilia is the 4th trimester. And in that 6-week support group, what we do is offer people the space for them to tell their story from their words, their experiences, and their lived experience, because they are living after birth.
Right.
And there is joy in that. And so even though they may have had challenges throughout the pregnancy or their delivery experience, birthing experience, that they're here and they can tell their story. And so we're partnering to also really give space to that, a place of healing and opportunity to have the psychotherapeutic experience and also to craft your story and, do a monologue out of it.
I love, hands down, being a therapist. Like, I can do away with the ED stuff, executive director. I can do away with so many other aspects of my career, but I absolutely love being a therapist. And that is something that I want to do for the rest of my life and be able to encourage people to do therapy as well, because if not us, then who? So in the spirit of collaboration over competition, we did Barbecue for Bay, the birth worker meetup, our crossover Oshun and Bay, as an outward demonstration as to how these things can work. So if you want to collaborate with us, contact us on Oshun Family Center on Instagram, info@oshunfamilycenter.org, or www.oshunfamilycenter.org, where you can click on the Maternal Wellness Village tab, see some projects that we have coming up, and sign up to be a part of the planning committee for Black Maternal Health Week. Again, my name is Saleemah. I'm your co-host today for the Big Girl Panties podcast, and this is Jabina Coleman, and we'll see you in episode 3. Thank you.
I think we have rap a long time ago.
Furnace.
I made it look easy.
That was